You're listening to Thin Line Radio Podcast with your host, Eric Gladstone. Welcome to Thin Line Radio Podcast. This is Eric Gladstone. Man, it's been a minute, folks. I ain't been on the air in a while, or on the podcast in a while. It's been a minute. Well, I'm back. That's the exciting news. I'm here, so thank you guys for kind of sticking around. The podcast most definitely is still alive. I'm not planning on taking it down. The reason why there was a break in the action was because I had to get some new equipment, because doing this on my phone was just taking an awful long time to edit and to do all this stuff. So if you didn't know, all the other podcasts were off of my phone. All the recording and then the editing was on the computer, but all of it was from my phone. So now we don't have to worry about that anymore. So I freed up my phone and we did the first ever, and I say first ever, Thin Line Radio Podcast pre-show on Facebook Live. So that was really exciting. Had two people that wanted me to give them a shout out, so I promised them I would. Tammy Webb and Scott Hanford, thank you so much for listening to Thin Line Radio Podcast and joining on the pre-show on Facebook Live. So this podcast is probably not going to be a really long one, but it's going to be kind of important and kind of funny. So what I want to talk about today in this episode, this is episode number 8, and we're bringing you summertime. Folks, the season is upon us. Summertime is almost here. Storm season's about to be over with. And as you know, if you work in the field of fire, police, EMS, or as a dispatcher, you know that summertime is when it heats up. It's when it gets wild. We get more calls in the summertime because people, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, people do stupid shit in the summertime. That's real. That's what happens. Because people want to have fun. They want to get out in the lake. They want to enjoy life. It's summertime. Let's get a tan. Let's run around. This is awesome. And people just have a good time. And sometimes that doesn't work out well for them. It's kind of sad to say, but sometimes it just don't. Ending up, we get really busy. So you guys that are in the field, you guys know that this is the time that everything kind of goes haywire for a little bit. The call that I want to break down today, kind of in particular, is a call that involved somebody out on the lake, and they had an issue. I don't know the exact whole story because I did not take this call particularly. One of the other dispatchers did. But it is very comical, and it's kind of funny. So I'm going to break it down the best I can. So Fairfield Bay, where I live at, is a tourist town. A lot of people come in from all over the country to visit Fairfield Bay because of its beautiful views and nice mountains to climb and da-da-da-da and all that good stuff. So we have a pretty good-sized lake. It's called Greers Ferry Lake. And in the 4th of July, they shoot fireworks off the lake, and that is so awesome, so beautiful. As on the fire department, we do like perimeter around there and kind of, keep people back from the bank where all the fireworks are shot off at, so they're not, in danger or anything. But it's so awesome to see the 4th of July because there's boats everywhere. It looks like a giant city on the lake, and it's so beautiful. And you get to celebrate Independence Day and watch the fireworks and just and let loose and have a good time. So with that being said, this call comes from a lady that was on the lake, and they were having a great time, and they're enjoying themselves. They're, whatever's going on. Anyways, 911 phone rings out. Dispatcher answers the phone. 911, where's your emergency? Like we always do. And the lady proceeds to tell the dispatcher that they're sinking. Help us. We're stranded on the lake. We need help. Oh, my God. And all that stuff, is running through. So the dispatcher asked the question that we asked first when we answered the phone, where are you on the lake? Now, the response that the dispatcher gets is really funny. That's the funny part of the story. And like I said, I didn't take this call personally, so I don't know all the outcomes and stuff, but this call is talked about quite a bit at our center. Anyways, her response was this right here. Sir, we are directly underneath the moon. And if I understand it right, she had some attitude like she knew exactly where she was. So she's like, We're directly underneath the moon. Dispatcher said, kind of laughs. It says, again, where are you? And the response is exactly the same. So thanks to modern technology, we were able to locate that person, find where they were. But the funniest part is that when the dispatcher was listening on the phone to what was going on, the only one that sounded like they were freaking out was the caller. Everybody else was on the boat. And, they're having a good time. They're doing what they're doing. They're screaming, yelling, playing music. Everything's fine, fun. But this lady is convinced that they're sinking and they're going down and it's going to be a bad deal. So she calls 911. And the dispatcher proceeds to tell them, okay, if you are sinking for real, then you need to grab your life jackets, grab something that's floatable so that if you do sink, then you're at least floating in the water and you don't drown or nothing bad happens to you. But like I said, I didn't take this call, so I don't know all the specifics. I think it was something very, small. I think there was some water in the boat or something, and they were freaking out, or she was just not having fun and she wanted off the boat. But either way, it's kind of a comical story. So the outcome of that did turn out good. Thank goodness nobody was seriously hurt or nobody was sinking and they didn't lose their boat. But it's just kind of funny. So when you go out on the lake, this is just like some advice that you might want to take if you're not familiar where you're at on the water, or if you're visiting somewhere and you're not familiar with that particular lake. Make a game plan, make a little pre-plan, figure out, the certain coves and certain things where they're at, so that you know that in a state of emergency, and if you're having a good time, that you can actually, tell the dispatcher exactly where you're at. Now, like I said, modern technology, we are able to locate, track calls, which is very, very cool. But sometimes, the system does fail. It's technology. It's not fail-safe. But so keep in mind, always pre-plan where you're going to be at, what you're going to be doing. Like I said, folks, summertime is absolutely nuts for dispatchers. So make sure you guys are doing everything to be safe, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out, having a good time at a friend's house party, or whatever it may be. Just make sure that you're being safe and not, don't get hurt, or do anything crazy. But like I said, summertime, people do crazy ass shit. So, but anyways, folks, I hope you guys enjoy this podcast or this episode. I know it's kind of short, but it's so glad to be back. I'm so happy to be here. And like I said, we're going to start probably doing a little pre-show on Facebook Live, so please tune into that when that comes up. And I'm going to try to do these podcasts a little more frequently. So anyways, guys, I hope you really enjoy this. Once again, you're listening to Thin Line Radio Podcast with Eric Gladstone. Good morning, good evening, and good night. We'll see you. Everybody have a good one, and have a safe weekend.